Hello and welcome to another Arsecast Extra, as always, with James from fucking... Where are you from? Gunnerblog.
Yeah. Bournemouth. Gunnerblog by way of Bournemouth.
Yes. Where you're not at this moment in time, you're elsewhere.
No. I'm in Belgium. La Belge.
Going on pilgrimage to the village of Trossard.
Yeah, I'm here on a Trossard-based pilgrimage.
Goodly evening. Goodly evening. That's what I was going to say.
Man. How are you doing?
I'm not really the better for that, to be honest.
No?
I mean, it's weird. We've just won at Old Trafford. The title race is going to the final day. This is kind of what we've all wanted. It is exactly what we've all wanted. And I feel absolutely drained by that game. More than any game I can think of in recent times. You know, we've had some late great moments and games where we've been hanging on a little bit, but that one really, really felt hard going throughout.
What's the Garmin saying?
The Garmin actually was all right. It was more it was just a sort of low-level dread that was with me, I think, from after the Bournemouth game, to be honest. I didn't want to think about this game at all. I tried my best to ignore it, watched all the Champions League this week, avoided all the football really over the weekend and only really started thinking about it. I had to do a preview podcast, obviously, on Friday, did that, completely forgot about it again, or tried to. I just tried to put this game so far out of my consciousness until there was no way I could avoid it, because I just had this, I can't describe the sense of just like, oh no, like if this goes wrong, I just don't know how to feel about it. And I'm, in equal parts delighted but drained by the dread that I had accumulated over the course of the week. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. For me, it all started at Selhurst Park. As soon as United were that bad and battered that heavily, it added kind of like another layer of pressure to this game,
yeah.
I think, in a way.
I'd forgotten all about that. Jeez.
Exactly right. It changed expectation. And also I started creating all these narratives in my head where, well, they're going to want to bounce back in front of their home fans. They can't possibly be that bad again. And yet the outside world, we're all start saying, well, Arsenal are going to win 4-5-0. Yeah. Just going to absolutely coast it at Old Trafford, which you just don't do very often, or certainly we don't do very often.
No.
What is it? 2 wins in 20 years or something crazy.
Yeah.
I think to find a win by more than a goal, we have to go back even further than that. So that's when it all started. And actually in the course of this week, I have been going slightly crazy about this game as well. I think at one point, maybe around sort of Wednesday or Thursday, I started saying I care more about Old Trafford than I do about the title. Like I started saying, this is my title. I don't, if we win the league, I don't know, but all I care about is that we win at Old Trafford. Now you could say those two things are very bound together. In fact, we very much sort of had to do one of them in order to achieve the other.
Sure.
But it took up a lot of my headspace, and I'm delighted that it's over. I think the fear carried all the way through into the actual game. And then the last 20 minutes or so for me was just the terror that Anthony might do something good.
I was the exact same. I saw Anthony come on and there was a little part of me going, good. Yeah, he's been shite. And then instantly my brain went, you fool. Yeah. You idiot. You've made an Anthony goal happen here. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
What's the worst thing that could happen? What is the worst case scenario? An Anthony curled equaliser from the edge of the box in the 94th minute. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, for my brain, that had as good as happened. It felt so real.
Yeah.
And yet
here we are. We've won and we're top of the league again, and the title race goes to the final day. And I don't know, does this kind of sum up what football is about? That, big win that should have you elated because of what the result means can also have you slightly spiraling or trying to get yourself back on an even keel because of everything that went into the build-up to the game, and of course the game itself, the performance. I mean, you looked at that Manchester United team when it was released an hour before kickoff. I looked at it, and I looked at the bench. And if they had been playing anybody else, I would have laughed. I genuinely, I would have done a crying, laughing emoji on Twitter over their team news or something like that.
Yeah.
But I could not. I could not do it. I couldn't even text you at any point to say how sick I was feeling, apart from maybe midway through the second half where I just couldn't. I had to tell someone the hell I was going through. I had to.
I was the same. Because I thought, maybe they'll get Bruno Fernandes back. Maybe you'll see Marcus Rashford in the squad or something like that. So when that 11 came out, I was like, wow, that's bad.
Yeah.
But much like their thrashing at Crystal Palace, the badness of the 11 only made me fear more, the outcome. So
yeah.
There was no relief for me in that. The only sweet relief came at the final whistle. And I have to say, I have now found that place of elation. I'm really, 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 and it might be because I've had one drink, but I'm really delighted.
You are always a cheap date, James.
Yeah. I'm really delighted. I'm very, very... I mean, it's been a real roller coaster this weekend, because I don't mind saying, after that Manchester City result yesterday, I was not feeling great. I expected them to, I always expect them to win, but there was something about how emphatic it was that really was a gut punch. You felt it. And I don't want to go overboard with narrative, but I thought, as an Arsenal player, that's got to register with you on some level.
Sure.
They were training yesterday morning, and they would have got back to the dressing room at Colney and seen, City coasting. And I don't care who you are. I don't care how professional, how focused you are. That must do something to you.
Yeah.
And I feared it might, have an impact today. I mean, maybe it did in some respects.
It might have.
I don't think it was our best performance, but it does not matter at this stage.
No, and look, I'm with you. I'm really, really happy. I was sort of, part of the dread was obviously personal. I want Arsenal to do well. I want Arsenal to win. But, a big part of it was this sort of shared journey that we've all been on throughout this season. And look, it'll be horrible if we don't win the title. I think it's... I think we've done so well and pushed so hard and been so great, but if you lose it at home because City won their last 7 games or 8 games in a row or whatever it is, and you win your final game and you miss by the narrowest of margins on the final day, I feel like I could compartmentalize that quite a lot better than losing it at Old Trafford, or just to that Manchester United team, to this whatever fucking version that guy put out. It would have been just horrible for everybody. So I was so invested in just being able to appreciate what we've done this season. I feel like we would have got there, of course, and you would have rational discussion and you could be objective, but we have a whole week of crazy dreaming to do, because football is mad and miracles can happen and strange things can happen and you never know. It's unlikely, but you never know. And we all have that. And I think for what this team has delivered, from pretty much the start of the season to now, it was just it felt so important that we could take it to this stage, whatever way it ends up.
I think so. And I honestly think whatever happens in midweek with Man City, I think next Sunday will be a great occasion, and I think the team will get the recognition they deserve, and it will be a celebration of their achievements this season, irrespective of if they get a trophy at the end of it. And honestly, today, for me, it's so easy with these run-ins to kind of talk about ifs and buts and maybes and shoulda, woulda, coulda, and the games where it went away from you, the games that you look back on with regret. But if someone had told me like 10 games ago or whatever it was that we would basically win every game with the exception of that one against Aston Villa, I would have bitten your hand off for that, your whole arm. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would have said, no way will we be able to do that, especially with Champions League ties mixed in there as well. You know, away at Spurs, away at Old Trafford, home to Chelsea, away to Wolves off the back of the Champions League, winning game after game after game after game. I don't think that I could ask for any more from this team than what they've produced.
No.
And if it ends up being not quite good enough to win a title, so be it. But it's more than good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, look back in the run as well. We beat Liverpool. We hammered Newcastle.
Well, that's the thing. This run, I mean, how long do you want to take the run in as being? I mean, arguably since January, we've just been in blistering form. And it just so happens there's another team in Manchester who have also been 15
wins from our last 17 games. 15 wins, a draw, and 1 defeat from our last 17. I mean, that's extraordinary. I think I read or heard somewhere a good while ago that maybe the longest run of wins Arteta had was something like 7. Is that right? Maybe that's still true, actually, because you've got that draw. There's 8 there anyway, but to after the Villa game, after the Bayern game as well, because the Bayern game played a part in how we all felt. You looked at those 5 games going into the final day: Wolves away, Chelsea home, Tottenham away, Bournemouth home, Man United away. And you maybe looked at Wolves and Bournemouth as the kind of the bankers, in as much as you can do that, but you knew you were going to face, two sides in a London derby, and then going to Old Trafford, where I think there is some. It's just a weird thing, isn't it? It's hard to explain why this group of players would feel intimidated by Old Trafford, because this is not the Manchester United of the past. This is potentially the worst Manchester United team I've seen in a long, long time. In terms of how they're coached, how they play, the personnel. I know they have some injuries. I just read on Twitter, actually, somebody said that Wayne Rooney said that some Manchester United players were faking injuries to stay out of the spotlight. So there you go.
Wow.
But to win those 2 London derbies and also go away to Old Trafford and win, I think you would have got, if not long odds, fairly generous odds on Arsenal doing that.
Yeah. I mean, what we've produced in this run-in, to my mind anyway, is Man City form. Which is that kind of impossible standard that we're all trying to achieve. So, yeah, I do feel like after winning this one and assuming, hoping that we win on the final day against Everton, I really can have very few recriminations. I just think this set of results has been absolutely extraordinary. And I know that we weren't at our best at Old Trafford, but that's what champions do, right? That's what sides who win leagues do, when they're not at their very best. I don't think we were anything like our best at Spurs. We won the game. Yeah.
Just win.
Yeah, if you get to a point where you're winning games that big without playing to your maximum level, you're in a good place.
Yes, and we are in a good place. We're top of the table, albeit temporarily, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see what happens this week. So let's try and get into today. It's a little different, a little more difficult, because normally we have a bit of time to sort of process the game and think about it, and also maybe rewatch parts of it, which I haven't had the chance to do. And actually, I think even if I did have the chance, I probably wouldn't do it again, having endured that game. But no surprises in terms of the team. It was the same team that we picked in the last few games. But I think there was the way the game started, we played quite high up the pitch, and then United got a bit of possession and knocked it around. And it felt to me like there was a bit of nervousness in the Arsenal team, in the performance, whether it's pressure, whether it's knowing what's at stake. I don't know. It's hard to quantify, isn't it? Whether it's Old Trafford, just by virtue of being somewhere we haven't won very often, and the players being aware of that, and maybe, like you said, with the Manchester City game yesterday, the result, really probably is like, oh crap. Now it feels even more difficult to go there. It didn't. I think it was reflected in the performance, all of those things. To what extent you can put the finger on one thing over the other, I don't know. But it felt to me certainly like certain decisions, there were just moments where you felt like this team looks a little bit nervous.
Yeah. By the way, just quickly on the starting lineup, I saw a load of United fans kicking off on Twitter because they had believed Mikel Arteta when he said Bukayo Saka was a doubt. And they were all like, bloody Arteta, he said Saka wouldn't play, he's there. I knew he'd do it. And I was like, you haven't been paying attention all season if you take any stock about what Mikel Arteta says about any player's fitness at any point in time. We started okay, like the first couple of minutes. And then there were some sort of sloppy errors. There was Thomas Partey got caught, didn't he, on the edge of his own box. David Raya came for a cross and didn't quite claim it, and Declan Rice, I think, underhit a back pass. There were just a few sort of moments of vulnerability that I think gave United a bit of encouragement. The thing is, they had absolutely no quality. So as much as they were encouraged, they weren't really able to convert that into anything. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. I mean, I think that Højlund chance early on is a not a sliding doors moment, but he's clean through on goal there, and he slipped as he hit the shot, and it's a bad mistake from Partey. And if that goes in, can we raise ourselves? Maybe it has a different impact on the game. Maybe it sparks us into life or something like that. But yeah, you mentioned the Rice back pass where I was like, oh, because not only did he underhit the back pass, Raya slipped and managed to get up again and whack it clear. But, the way we played, it felt a bit strange. Obviously, United had paid some attention tactically to what we do and how we do it, so they made it difficult for Odegaard to get on the ball. I had a look at the stats at halftime. Declan Rice had 13 touches of the ball in the first half. I mean, that's not Declan Rice this season at Arsenal. He's much more involved than that, and he was stationed out left quite a bit because I don't know if he was protecting Tomiyasu but he was not really involved. We couldn't get Odegaard on the ball particularly. And I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if you saw Arteta on Sky afterwards, but he said he thought the goal had a negative impact on the team, which is kind of, it sounds counterintuitive, but I kind of know what he means at the same time.
Yeah, I had the feeling watching the game. I mean, United did change a lot of what they do tactically. They've kind of done the same thing all season. And, it hasn't got old to me anyway. I've thoroughly enjoyed it for the most part. But Sod's Law, Ten Hag made a couple of changes this time, just in terms of how narrow his team set up. And I think we were maybe taken by surprise with that. We struggled to get to grips with it a bit. I was watching the team, and there's a lot of projection here on my part, but I almost felt like they were trying things or trying to build up play or trying to make runs or trying to play passes and then being like, oh, the space isn't where I think we expected it to be. Yeah. Or where Mikel told us it would be. It was like they'd done all their homework to play United, and then suddenly United changed. And it was like, well, and I think we looked a little bit, maybe lost is strong, but confused at times, taking longer in possession, holding onto the ball, looking for something to open up in front of us, rather than kind of seizing the initiative. Now, the thing is, for everything United did change, there was one thing they didn't change, and that was keeping Casemiro at centre-back. And it's a decision I can applaud. I mean, that is astonishing, I think. For him to have been as poor as he was at Selhurst Park and to keep doing that, I know they don't have many options. But frankly, I mean, they got what was coming to them.
Well, yeah. I mean, they don't really. They brought on the young guy, didn't they? Camboala late on and took Johnny Evans off. And I guess he thought the experience of Casemiro would be useful. I mean, he was terrible at Crystal Palace. He wasn't as terrible today, apart from one moment where, like, honestly, that's just... People throw words around, when they talk about football and they say, that's criminal. That's unforgivable. But those are both true in this sense from a Manchester United perspective. Casemiro is a criminal who should be in jail probably right now, and he should never be forgiven for what he did because, it is honestly the most basic thing when you're playing centre-half. And what I saw a little bit of the halftime, and they were talking about, is it because he's not really a centre-half? He doesn't really know the position. But that's bullshit.
Yeah,
he knows what centre half
really run.
I mean that would be it. Point. Or he can't be arsed to run. That's all that is. Because a player of his experience, you telling me he doesn't understand what a centre half should do in that situation? When everybody else is 10 or 15 yards ahead of you, your job is to make sure that you don't just sort of amble forward and allow the opposition to find space for, maybe the first time in the game. It's a good ball from Ben White into Kai Havertz, and Casemiro is just sort of ambling forwards. I mean, it really is terrible from Casemiro. I love it. I thank him for it. I will send him a gift basket if he would like. Add it to his collection of cakes that he's obviously been eating, but is just unbelievably bad from a player of his experience. A young player, oh, fuck. You could get it. You could understand it. It's still not good, but you could understand it, but not for someone like Casemiro. It was really, really bad. And we exploited it very well. And when you consider how it all turned out, it's a good job we did.
Yeah. Carragher took him apart, didn't he, on Monday night, Casemiro, and I saw in the week Ian Wright kind of challenge him on it and say, was it a bit too harsh? But after that today, I don't think you can say it was. I mean, really awful stuff from him. Brilliant, I thought, from Havertz. Like, I think, to, figure out what Casemiro's up to or not up to, as the case may be, and play that offside so well, make the right run, be in the right space. And then I think he executes that assist perfectly in terms of, driving into the box, committing players, giving them decisions to make, forcing them to back off, releasing the pass at the right time. And there's Johnny on the spot, Leo Trossard. He's got that kind of Freddie Ljungberg run-in energy about him at the moment. He
does, doesn't he? I saw someone had asked a question about that on the Discord. I'm not sure if I picked it out, but I definitely saw it.
It was Johnny from Belfast, pointed that out. But he does have that vibe to him.
He does. And it's really, really smart movement from Trossard getting ahead of Wan-Bissaka and finishing for 1-0. I'm just want to get the quotes up here because I see Andrew's just posted the story on Arseblog News. So this is Arteta speaking about what happened after the goal. The goal affected us in a negative way, especially with the things we had to do on the ball. And then he was asked if the players went into protection mode. He said, I think so, playing too safe, playing backwards, playing in areas where it wasn't progressing our play and creating the threat that we wanted. We started to give a lot of balls away because of that. Then the game became much more open, but it's true on the same hand. We defended so well again. We can talk about the defending side of things. But I think that's interesting that, 1-0 up, they I don't know, were they safe? I just think we were sloppy. We were imprecise. Havertz did really well for the goal, but I thought in general, especially compared to some of the games he's played lately, where the hold-up play has been really, really good. And he's been able to sort of link play and help provide the team with a certain measure of cohesion. which wasn't there today. When the ball came to him, it just seemed to bounce off him, or his touch wasn't great. And actually, I can say this now that we've won, and it's not really relevant, and maybe you will disagree or not, but I felt like a lot of sort of 50-50 decisions weren't given in this game that I thought kind of had an impact on our performance in particular, in that I think there were a number of incidents that were fouls, probably, where the ref sort of played on. And maybe if you want to hark back to days of yore where football was a more physical game, you might appreciate that side of things. But I certainly thought there were too many of those decisions that went against us today. I don't think it was, the real reason. But I think that, on top of that imprecision and lack of zip to our game, the way we normally pass the ball around, it just wasn't there at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't notice that myself, but I don't doubt it's true. I mean, ultimately, if a referee's not giving you 50-50 calls, they're probably the kind of things that enable you to control a game, and dictate tempo, stuff like that. If every one of those that might have been a free kick to you, where you can slow it down, reposition, manage the game, if every one of those becomes a turnover, then it's going to be more chaotic. And, I think it's going to become naturally more even. It wasn't the game I expected in any respect. I think I looked at half time and perhaps we'd been outshot and maybe they'd had the more possession. I mean, I just didn't foresee that as an eventuality. I thought, we'd cut them to pieces. I thought we'd play through them at ease. I thought Odegaard would have a field day. It didn't happen like that.
No.
But when the big moments came, our players came out on top. And there's going to be a lot of games like that in any season, which you need to win in that way. Yeah. I would have loved, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to really rub their noses in it and, run up a decent score up there. But we didn't play to our best level.
No, we didn't. Not even close. It was, certainly the worst performance of 2024. Was it probably even worse than the Villa game?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I don't think we played as well at any point in this game as we did in the first half of that Villa game. And I was thinking about the Spurs match, but I actually think in the second half against Spurs, we played some decent stuff, albeit we lost it 2-0 in theory.
Yeah.
I think this was, chatting to a few friends who are neutrals, I think this was quite a dry game, really. I don't think there was a great deal of quality on show. And as I said earlier, I think a United side with Bruno or a United side with Rashford, I think might have punished some of the sloppiness that we showed.
Sure.
But they just didn't have that today.
No, they didn't have any quality at all in the final third. Højlund, apart from that moment early on, did nothing. Garnacho had a couple of moments where he ran. I think he'd one shot into the side netting. Ahmad looked okay on the other side, but zero end product. And Anthony, when he came on, did the square root of fuck all again, which is, pretty much how his season has been. So yeah, you're right. I think with different players, they might have been able to punish us a little, but maybe with different players to worry about, we'd have, had to play a little differently ourselves.
I do wonder as well, like our defensive record is so good, particularly on the road. I wonder if kind of consciously or perhaps even unconsciously, that becomes a bit of a crutch for a team. I do wonder if that's something that they go, well, you can have it. You can have it 30, 40 yards from goal because we've got William Saliba, Gabriel, David Raya, Declan Rice in front. Do what you can. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do wonder if there's a willingness almost, a kind of, there's something comfortable for Arsenal. It's uncomfortable for us to watch as fans, but they look pretty comfortable saying, well, we'll just defend the edge of our own box.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. They didn't really look at all uncomfortable. They just settled into their shape and, dealt with whatever Manchester United had to offer. And when you look at the stats, actually, the amount of tackles won in this game: Ben White 2, Saliba 4, Tomiyasu 3, Partey 2, Odegaard 2, Declan Rice 3, Saka 2, Havertz 3, Trossard 3. Even Gabriel Jesus made one, when he came on. Gabriel Martinelli with a couple as well. So from a defensive perspective, I think the team do deserve credit for another clean sheet away from home. And I think you're probably right. They felt or understood that if the attacking part of the game wasn't going as well as they would have liked or what they'd hoped for, that they can, is it like kind of a safety blanket in a way?
Yeah, kind of. Exactly. It almost feels like they can lean back on that to an extent. I mean, Saliba was given man of the match on the day. If you get into the second half, he made that brilliant tackle on Garnacho inside his own penalty area, which was obviously probably his high point of the match and just so beautifully executed. I really thought it was masterful from Saliba. But that kind of exemplified the composure of the guys at the back. That's the thing. I don't think we played great, but I would agree with you. I don't think they ever looked particularly stressed.
No. And actually, if any team looked like it was going to score again, it was probably Arsenal, because we did have some chances. In the first half, there was the Ben White one where he got in behind. That was not far away when you look at the replay of that going across. I'm trying to think. Late in the second half, there was Martinelli with a shot at Onana.
There was one before that, which was Odegaard. Do you remember after Wan-Bissaka slipped when Trossard was running at him, and
that's right.
Odegaard had quite a tame shot. Then there was the Martinelli one, which I think that's a pretty good save.
I think it's a very good save. Yeah,
really good hand on it. Unfortunate time for him to remember how to be a goalkeeper. And then there was a little flurry. I think Wan-Bissaka nearly scored an own goal, didn't he? And Nana saved, and Rice had a shot from the edge of the box.
That's right.
Away.
Yeah.
Martinelli was a threat, I thought, when he came on. I thought this was kind of, in some ways, I thought it was the perfect use of Trossard and Martinelli. You've got Trossard, who is in the game, but not all the time, but delivers the big moment. Martinelli comes on, works really hard, offers the threat on the break. I think, Gabriel Martinelli won't appreciate me saying this, but I think there's something that works about that, I think.
Yeah. And look, I know he had that shot, but I still don't think he's quite, and even, in general, Trossard was, I mean, it's hard to sort of pick him out because he's basically the hero today and he scored a goal, but, he does have this ability, or I don't know, is it an ability, but he can be quite quiet, but he has a decisive moment. And the substitution makes a lot of sense based on his overall performance. But also, he's just scored you the goal that either wins the game or gives you daylight like he did in the Bournemouth game. His contributions have been unbelievable in terms of end product. And I'm not sure Martinelli has demonstrated enough of that in his recent cameos for Trossard to lose his place for a game.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say so. Like I say, I think, we've only got one more game left, haven't we? But I think Trossard will start it and Martinelli's an ideal substitute. But I do think the difference between the two at this point in time, I mean, there's stylistic differences, but a big difference is composure. Trossard has had that composure in those crucial moments. And I think Martinelli, whether it's confidence, whether he's just overthinking a little bit, is maybe just not quite as decisive as you want him to be in those instances. But yeah, I mean, I've spoken about the fear I felt and how desperate I was for the win. I do have to say that apart from my horror at the potential of Antony scoring, I did feel a little bit more comfortable as we got towards the end. There were, United made a couple of subs that I thought felt a bit like declaring. I mean, I know it sounds absurd, but actually losing 1-0 is not the worst result for Ten Hag at this point in time. They were spared humiliation, which I think was a very real prospect given the way they played the other night. And I he gave Mikel Arteta a big handshake and a slap on the back at full time. I got the sense that, he was relatively content for it, and they didn't really unleash. They didn't go hell for leather. Maybe they just weren't capable.
No, I don't think they were capable. I think they tried their hardest, but they're just so poor that they didn't have anything to offer. Nothing decisive anyway in the final third. The balls that were into the box. I think Raya actually deserves some credit as well, because when he needed to have safe hands, he had really safe hands in this game in the final stages. And I know he wasn't overly tested, but he did what he needed to do. He caught the crosses. He took his time. Falling on the ground, telling everyone to calm down, just eat away 10, 20 seconds at a time, 30 seconds at a time, picked up a yellow card for time wasting, not a problem. It all played into frustrating United, I guess, because of just how organised we were. And we are a difficult team to break down, generally speaking. I think that's something that you can lean into when the attacking side of your game doesn't work particularly well. But like we said, if it's a safety blanket or if they just feel really, really comfortable in terms of the way they're organised, it's not like United were pulling us apart. There were a couple of moments in the second half where I felt it was just a little bit open in midfield. And I was a little bit worried about, players just running straight through the middle. But once they got to the edge of the box, you have Saliba, you have Gabriel, you have Tomiyasu, you have Ben White, and you have Raya behind them. That's a difficult thing if you're an attacking player. You're looking at those guys and thinking, well, how do I get beyond them? I mean, maybe the best moment United had was Garnacho curling a shot well wide when I think Saka and White both went the wrong way. I don't know quite what happened there, but even then he had a clear-sided goal and didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, Raya was great. I mean, I think there was one late cross. Maybe it was the last one, 96th minute. He comes and collects it. He's got a big smile on his face. Saliba gives him a big slap on the back for it. Big hands, David Raya, they say.
Really?
Very big hands. Yeah, big hands. They have to sacrifice 40 yak to get the hides to make David Raya's gloves. That's how big his hands are. Wow. Yeah. He
is old school, going with the famous yak leather rather than the...
Yeah, well, in Spain, that's the tradition. And, I thought he was very, very good today. And listen, they saw it out. And, I say United settled for it. Again, I think our defence are so good, are so comfortable that they almost did too. I think they thought we can get through this. We can see it out. We can win it 1-0. And they did. And then the heavens opened, right?
The heavens opened, yeah.
Extraordinary.
I mean, crazy. That stadium appears to be falling apart. I know there was an issue with the roof at our place, wasn't there? But this is like Niagara Falls.
Yeah. Where does Ratcliffe start? The team or the stadium?
The tears of Roy Keane and Gary Neville streaming down from the Stretford end. Soaking,
I know, right? Gary Neville just can't help himself, can he, as well, on comms? Like, his bias is so clear. So would mine be. So,
yeah.
But it's just a shame we have to listen to it. But there you go.
So, we did it. We beat them.
We did it, Andrew.
We did it, and we've got the 3 points. And now, I feel calmer. I feel better. I feel happier. The dread is ebbing away, and I'm really looking forward to this week and what comes next and what might happen. And yeah, I don't know.
We've got a lot of questions about that.
Do we?
Yes, because as you know, we've got a bit of an unusual situation on our hands.
Yes, we do. We do. Is there anything else before we'll do that? We'll go in and take a break and do part 2. But is there anything else we need to talk about or to? I mean, I think it was just a case of get the 3 points, however you get them. I'm pretty sure I said that in the blog as well today. Just whatever way you do it, just get the points and that'll be fine. But football can really put you through the ringer as well.
No, I mean, I think... I'll turn that phone off in a second. Sorry, everyone. It's on the other side of the room, though. So, I can't do it now with my mind.
It's fine.
I'll have to wait till the interval, half time.
It's just like all the iPhone users who listen to this are now just checking their phone immediately going, I can't usually hear the thing through the podcast.
But Yeah, I suppose the only point, I mean, we had a couple of questions about this, so we'll touch on that too. I do think that looking at those lineups today, I really thought Arsenal would completely control the midfield battle. And the fact that they didn't, I think, shows you quite how far below our best level we played. You mentioned Declan Rice's lack of touches, but I didn't think Martin Odegaard was anywhere like as involved as you'd want him to be. I have to be honest, have reservations about Thomas Partey's performances in midfield.
He was bad today. I'm sorry, he was bad.
Yeah, I know we're winning games and I know he offers a lot of good, but I just feel that there's a mistake in him and that he can be got at a little bit. But there are questions about that, so we'll leave that for now, I guess.
All right. Well, we will take a little break here. We'll come back with your questions and more in part 2 right after this. Welcome back to the Arsecast Extra. This is part 2 of the show where we answer questions that you sent to us on Twitter at GunnerBlog and at Arseblog. Also on the Arseblog Discord chat server, which you get access to if you are an Arseblog member on Patreon. Are you drinking a Belgian beer?
No, I'm not actually. This is heresy. I'm in Belgium drinking an English cider.
Well, I think that's all right.
Yeah. Well, I don't really like beer, Andrew.
That's true. I know. Yeah, you're more of an apple
like
guy.
Cider or a wine or a spirit, but yeah. But I probably will have some beer while I'm here. You have to, don't you?
Yeah, it's the law.
Is it the law?
It's the law in Belgium. You must consume 4 flagons of some kind of ale brewed by monks who live in the dark like mole people.
Well, that could be an athletic feature. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll pencil that for Tuesday night.
Yeah, good idea. Help get you through.
Lots of questions about that.
Go on,
Andrew.
then.
Well, let's start with this one. Sudarshan says, what will you be doing on Tuesday when Spurs play Man City?
Anything but watching that.
Really?
Yeah.
I will be playing my trumpet.
Your trumpet?
Atop the lid of the toilet bowl.
You're going to come back from Belgium.
I'm going to fly in by helicopter.
You're going to get airlifted over the Tottenham Stadium, dropped, parachute onto the toilet duct and play your trumpet.
And I'll be playing my trumpet, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
No one knows what that means, to be honest. It doesn't mean that make any sense, but all good fun. I don't know what I'm doing about that. Am I watching it? I think probably not, unless I find out Spurs are winning, and then I don't think I'd be able to resist.
But would you not feel like if they were winning with you not watching, you turning it on to watch would completely change what happens?
Good point. Good point. I don't know. I can tell you this, guys. There's an old myth among the Arsenal fan base that when medical incidents happen, good things happen. To me, this is good things happen to Arsenal. And that's been very quiet of late.
It has.
To the extent that people have been saying, is it over? You know, is the curse broken? But I am in Belgium not to interview Leandro Trossard's babysitter for The Athletic, but to go to hospital here to have some medical treatment. Could this be a good omen, Andrew?
I mean, it definitely could be.
What if something went wrong in the treatment?
I mean, that could also be good. I mean, good for us, the wider public, maybe not for you.
I suppose I better hope the surgeon's not an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
There's no surgery involved. It's not that exciting. But what about...
I saw, actually, Phil Costa text me earlier, said he took a chunk out of his finger yesterday.
Good man, Phil.
Which
taking up the baton.
Required stitches. So I don't know. Are we going to have to sort of get someone to stab Lewis in the leg or something? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he'd take it.
Must, Andrew. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So you're not going to watch at all?
I don't think so. I mean, I might, but then I feel like if I do, it'll be like, oh, can Spurs do it? And Haaland scores on the 7th minute, and I'm like, oh, just fucking wasted my time. I mean, you can talk about the Spurs game, but actually, much depends, I think, on what happens between Aston Villa and Liverpool tomorrow night,
right.
Because we need Liverpool to win that game. Because Spurs have to try and do the best thing for themselves, which of course is to get into the Champions League next season, right? So they have to be fully professional when they face Manchester City, if it's a case that a win in that game could help them push Aston Villa to the final day of the season, and potentially Spurs could qualify for the Champions League. So as much as they would hate it, they would have to try and put in a performance against Manchester City. If Villa beat Liverpool, or if Villa get something from that game and the Man City game doesn't mean anything to Tottenham in terms of where they're going to finish, I mean, there are foregone conclusions and there are foregone conclusions. And this would be a foregone conclusion. So, you know...
Yeah. Even a draw at Villa Park is all right for us, I think, because that would take Villa to...
No, I think... Would it?
Oh, no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so bad at maths. Yeah, so Spurs' maximum points are 69. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So a draw is okay.
Oh, yeah?
A draw means that Spurs can do it if they win both their games and Villa don't win on the final day. And they've got Palace away, which, to be fair, looks like a tough game. So, I mean, a Liverpool win would be better.
Yes.
It would be all the more encouragement for Spurs.
I mean, there is a part of me that sort of thinks it would be the Spursiest thing of all time.
Yeah.
For them to beat Manchester City and to open the door for us, if we were to beat Everton on the final day, to win the league. I mean, could anything be more Spurs than that? They win a game that pretty much every single one of their fans will hate them for winning. I mean...
It kind of feels like it might be their destiny.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, this is what the club was brought into existence for all those years ago, simply for this specific moment in time, to do the funniest thing possible. I mean,
yeah.
What else could explain their existence?
Part of me feels, Andrew, that it's unlikely and City will romp home and smash them 4 or 5-0. But another part of me feels that everything has been leading to this. that the existence of Spurs as a football institution has been building to this one moment where they inadvertently hand the title to their most hated rival.
Oh my God. Oh, please.
There are lots of brilliant ways to win a league. But I mean, it would be certainly the funniest that I can think of.
Would it be better than winning it out at Old Trafford or at White Hart Lane, rather?
I'm not sure it's better, but I definitely think it's funnier. Because their fans will be devastated. And also, we've done the other ones. This is just, what's next on the agenda. I mean, yeah, it's within their DNA to do this. I think.
I think you're right.
And I think they know that.
That's the other part of it. They'd be going, this would be the fucking just so typical. When we've been through periods where you go, oh, that's typical Arsenal. Oh, we never do things the easy way. All of those things that you can think of. But deep down, they know. They know that this is, it's so hardwired into them that even if they wanted to control it, they couldn't.
I mean, I've heard all sorts of stories from their supporters about people, not going to the game and not reusing their tickets, not selling them. People saying they're going to go and cheer for Man City. I've heard all sorts.
That's that's just completely Spurs as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully, whatever happens, it sort of creates irrevocable damage and fissures in the relationship between supporters and fans, and families torn apart. Hopefully, this is basically the beginning of the end, or ideally the end of the end.
Yes, that would be good too. I like this from poorly drawn Arsenal. How can we make Spurs good for one game and one game only?
For just one day.
Just one game. We need to do like reverse lasagna Spurs.
Yeah.
We need to give them like spinach. Isn't that what Popeye used to be big and strong? Big. All the Spurs players go in to get ready for the game, and why is there a fucking tin of spinach in front of my shorts here? I don't really eat
just
spinach.
A vat of creatine. Enjoy. No, I don't know. I mean, how much hope do you have, Andrew? Out of 10, how much hope do you have?
3.
What's your percentage hope? 3.
3.
For a 30%.
30%.
That's pretty good. If I'd offered you, it's the last week of the season, and this is the situation, you got a 30% chance that it's all in your hands on the final day. Only Sean Dyche to overcome. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. I mean, are we forgetting David Moyes here as well?
Can I level with you? I am forgetting David Moyes.
I too had forgotten David Moyes right until he just popped into my head there as well. So
yeah, they had the sort of farewell Moyesy. Did you see Spurs had their end of season lap of appreciation on Saturday?
They did not.
Yeah. So they beat Burnley, the mighty Burnley, thankfully, to keep their season alive, and they did their lap of appreciation. I mean, they've got another home game still to come.
That's crazy. Have another home game.
I know, right? I mean, there is the kind of practical reason of, people can stick around easier on a Saturday afternoon than on a Tuesday night. But it definitely did have, overtones of our season is over. Don't come looking to us for help, Arsenal.
Well, true, but also maybe somebody at the very top understands the inherent Spursiness of Spurs as well, that it'd be just like these fuckers to go and win a game of football and get us into the Champions League or get us into the reckoning in the Champions League, and nobody appreciates it for even half a second. So maybe they're just alive to that possibility as well. Let me ask you this one from the Discord from Tola, who says, good evening, gents. Realising that a City draw with Spurs would leave us top on the last day by goal difference, but only by 3. Obviously, we'd love that, but how much of the Everton game would James spend on the concourse absolutely bricking it, knowing a huge City win could render an Arsenal win insufficient for the title? And there are a few questions about that, like how would Arsenal approach this game if it was that scenario on the final day? Do you just go for it and try and score as many as possible, or how do you do it?
Yeah, and you can get caught doing that. Was it England playing San Marino many, many years ago? 30 years ago or something, and they had to win by 7 and they flew out the blocks, but then because they didn't bother defending, conceded within about 30 seconds.
It was about 8 seconds, wasn't it? It was a really quick goal. Yeah.
They ended up getting the 7 goals or whatever it was, but it wasn't enough because of that one they'd conceded. I did not realise, I have to confess, quite how much City had eaten into our goal difference advantage. I actually was doing my post-match video, and I was like, of course, even a draw at Spurs would be fine in all likelihood. And then I looked at the goal difference and I was like, oh no, they're coming. I mean, look, we have to beat Everton, right? So if we beat Everton, we've got +1 to our goal difference straight away. Mm-hmm. So it's more than 3 in reality. it's 4. So they'd have to win by 4 to match our goal difference.
I mean, it's quite possible, given that we beat West Ham 6-0.
Yeah.
That Manchester
the West Ham
City
players have also forgotten about David Moyes, I think, for large periods of this run-in. So it is possible. Yeah, I don't know. I've got to say, that's a bridge I think we'll cross when we get to it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But you will be prowling the concourse.
Oh, you'll see me. You'll see me. Trumpet in hand.
Actual trumpet. Musical instrument, folks.
Yeah. For the brass band celebration, full time. I think last season, Arsenal booked a brass band for the final day, didn't they? And then in the end, we hadn't won the league, but we still had the brass band.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember them. Yeah. I remember them there.
I wonder what they've got lined up for us this year. I hope something exciting. What was I going to say?
What kind of a band would you like to see? Like a
steel band, I think.
Oompa band?
Have you ever seen Stomp?
Stomp? No, I don't think so.
I'd like the cast of Stomp. Stomp is a West End musical where people play household objects like instruments. It's absolutely horrendous. The only way to describe it is a din.
A din.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like someone falling down like a laundry chute, essentially.
All right.
Let's hope that...
I think we can do better. We can do better.
What about this question from Talk Nuffle Pod? And they say, Paul Merson has committed to getting a basketball chicken tattoo should Spurs take points off City on Tuesday. Can we expect similar pledges from you two in light of what is at stake?
Absolutely not.
What are you prepared to offer?
Absolutely not.
You won't be getting the toilet duck tattoo.
I certainly won't. No trumpets, no chickens on basketballs, none of it.
What about a big heart with Son's face in it?
If he scores the goal.
Yeah.
No. No, I will not deface my body with any of their stuff. I did say last year, didn't I, that I get the Passion Clarity little doodle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the equivalent would be for this season.
Well, maybe I'll just do that. I don't know.
Yeah, if James Maddison scores the winner for Spurs against Man City, will you upload a little video of yourself doing the dart celebration?
I mean,
Would you
that
stoop
seems
so low?
reasonable. I'm not one for uploading videos of stuff. You know that.
Yeah.
I leave that to the experts like yourself.
I don't know what I can offer really.
I don't know. I mean, above and beyond, your very body itself, which you are doing.
I am
this
doing
week,
that already.
laying it on the line.
Soul, I guess.
With Belgian doctors. They don't even understand English in Belgium. They'll be looking at it. They go, "What bit of the body is that?" They don't have a word for this in Belgian. Could all go terrible. But yeah, I couldn't possibly do anything like that, or I couldn't sort of commit to, I'll do the next podcast wearing a Spurs shirt or something like that.
We had a lot of that as well.
No. We're men of honor and integrity here.
That's true. That is, we're certainly men. I'm not really prepared to do anything like that because I don't have that much faith in them, ultimately.
No, me neither.
So sorry, I can't do anything like that.
I commit to laughing heartily at Spurs.
Yes, that much I can do.
Here's a couple of questions about a guy we all love. Martin on the Discord says, can there be any doubt now that Saliba is the difference between last season's run-in and this? And Queen Gunner on Twitter @SoFar says, what did we do to deserve William Saliba?
I don't know. He is dreamy. I mean, I think he was a big difference. I don't think he's the only difference.
No,
I have to be clear about that. I think, Tomiyasu's absence, it really compounded things, didn't it? And I also think we didn't have Declan Rice, we didn't have David Raya, we didn't have Kai Havertz. We were a different team. And we were 1 year younger, 1 year less experienced. And I think we must have learned an enormous amount in that run-in. And I think we're seeing that, and seeing some of the fruits of that this season. But all that said, I think he's magnificent, and I'm so glad we got that contract done.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll be too long, honestly, until we're talking about his next contract.
No, he's amazing. He is amazing. And, the question about what did we do to deserve William Saliba, I'm not sure it's anything we did, but what did we endure to deserve William Saliba?
Mustafi?
David Luiz, Socrates.
Sure. Mikel Silvestre.
Mikel Silvestre. This is exactly it. I was in the Camp Nou the night that Lionel Messi scored 4 goals, and Mikel Silvestre was part of the Arsenal team that day. Was he not also part of the team? Remember that 4-4 draw with Spurs, where David Bentley scored like he just was an up and under, basically?
Yeah.
I think Mikel Silvestre was in the team that night.
I think he was playing every position on the pitch, as I recall.
Yeah.
It was 11 Silvestres.
So
he did play. He scored, actually.
Got ahead of himself.
Silvestre and Gallas, centre-back.
William Gallas. We also endured William Gallas as well.
Squillaci.
I felt sorry for Squillaci more than the
Because
others.
of his funny name?
No, not really. He came out with this, this is a guy who'd won loads of trophies and experienced international, came to Arsenal, and he was bad. There's no two ways about it. But I remember reading an interview with him. He said, paraphrasing here, when you're defending in an Arsene Wenger team for Arsenal, it's just like there's nobody in front of you. And then all of a sudden, all the opposite. Remember that moment where Liverpool broke up field in the game at Anfield, and Trent Alexander-Arnold hit the bar, and it was basically Declan Rice backpedaling, and there was about 4 or 5 Liverpool players charging towards goal.
It's that meme of the guy drawing a sword with like 1,000 people running at him.
Yeah, exactly. I felt a bit sorry for Squillaci in that regard. He was more of
I think
an
Arsenal
honest
was
pro.
a bit of a graveyard for centre halves, wasn't it? For a time.
Yeah.
Where centre halves come to die. Because even Gallas, who, I don't think anyone's really got particularly fond memories of Gallas at Arsenal, but he was arguably the best centre back, like one of the top 3 or 4 centre backs in the entire country when he signed for us.
Well, maybe you could be right objectively, but I just can't.
You're not prepared to.
I'm not prepared to give him that. No.
Oh, look, that's certainly not what we saw.
Oh no, I know, but
he was outstanding at Chelsea. But yeah, we have suffered. We've earned William Saliba.
And Gabriel.
This is karma.
And Ben White. And Tomiyasu.
And Gabriel.
And all of them. We've been through a lot, We have been through a lot. Pretty dark times not that long ago at this football club. And to be where we are right now, oh man, it's good. It's good, because I remember so many podcasts that we'd have to do, and we'd try and find something that we could hang on to at, when things weren't good, and maybe if we did this it could get better, maybe if we tried this it might get better, and none of it worked. And here we are now going into the final day of the season with a chance to win the title. It's good. Sorry, I'm just taking a moment there to think about all those terrible times. And this is so much better. For all the fear I felt today, this is just so much better. My mood has brightened immediately. I just had to sort of traumatize myself by thinking, the way they say your life flashes before your eyes just before you die. I just have so many images of stupid goals we conceded and players sliding on their arses and just none of it being any good. So,
Andrew, as I said before, it's all been leading to this. Maybe, just maybe, it's all been leading to this.
Go on then, have you got one?
Yeah, I do. This is about that midfield thing. So Stegosaurus on Discord said, do you find it strange that Jorginho wasn't ever present for a long period of time, but then only came on very late when it seemed we were craving a bit of midfield control from half-time onwards? Since Partey's return, we've seen very little of such an influential player.
I do think it is a bit odd, to be honest. Particularly on a day like today, where I will admit, I was looking for Jorginho to come on the pitch a bit earlier than he did. I was hoping that he would make that change, because there was just so much about Partey's performance that scared me. So I do think it is a bit odd.
In the absence of Zinchenko, Partey is fully giving me the heebie-jeebies right now. I just feel like I remember when you came over. What game did you come over for at the Emirates a few weeks ago? I forget. Bayern, maybe? I don't know.
Yes, Bayern.
And you said that Zinchenko made you feel a bit nervous.
Yes. Not just me.
That's how I feel now.
I agree. I do too. Because it's not that like the overall performance was like super, super bad, but there were just so many moments that could have been disastrous in today's game. And I am surprised about Jorginho. I wonder, is he carrying a little bit of a knock?
Yeah. We've given him the new deal as well.
Yeah.
It's like, he's clearly part of the plans, maybe even more so part of the plans than Partey. I am quite surprised about how that has shifted in the last few weeks. And certainly I've found myself watching games, I think particularly at Spurs and maybe in this one as well, where I've kind of thought, I feel like we could do with Jorginho out there.
Yeah. And
it's been longer to wait for his introduction than I would have expected.
Well, yeah, today was the 92nd minute, something like that.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment in the second half where like Partey's legs were gone. Someone ran past him. I can't remember who it was, whether it was McTominay or Garnacho or one of those sort of horrible looking fellas. But you could
ratty little boys up front.
Yeah, you could see Partey just trying to find anything in his legs, and there wasn't anything there. So I am a bit surprised that he stayed on as long as he did. He stayed on the whole game, didn't he? Or did he? Who came off at the end?
Don't know, Andrew.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not like me, really. Like, I don't...
Yeah, he did come off. It was Partey came off. Partey and Odegaard came off for...
Oh, yes.
Kivior and Jorginho. So.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. And, we're winning games. And don't get me wrong, he's doing some good stuff in those games.
Yeah.
He's also doing some mad stuff. That's making me worried.
Yes. It's making me worried as well. Let's do a few quick ones to get ourselves out of here, because it is Sunday evening, of course, as well. Elliot Ross, is Ten Hag the Premier League's worst dressed man? By the end of the game, was Ten Hag the soggiest a man in a linen blazer from the dregs of the Zara sale has ever been? I have to, people can wear what they want, right?
Sure.
But I looked at
Zara.
Not necessarily. I'm not judging, but I did find Ten Hag's outfit today quite bizarre almost.
I don't know if I saw it. Let me have a look.
He just is like in this sort of beige, uninspired kind of, I don't know. He looks like distressed brick that you put in the bottom of your garden when you get the lawn taken up and you get some nice bricks put in. It's that colour.
Dress for the job you want. What job do you think he's dressing for there?
He is dressing for the job of a guy who goes to cosplay as Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows.
Well, that might be very well be what he's doing next season.
It could be. It could be. Yeah.
I think he's no Mikel, that's for sure. In terms of his attire, Mikel's got a pretty impressive variety of sort of black jackets.
He does.
How deliberate do you think that is? All black.
Black and grey, that's his
black and grey,
thing,
grey trousers
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, very deliberate, I'm sure. I don't know if that's his sort of his workaday outfit, when he goes home.
Like at home, tie-dye?
A sarong.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets into a sarong to, sit down and watch the football in the evenings. But
he said he was going to watch the Wolves Man City game in his pyjamas, didn't he?
Yeah.
I know he said it because I was there. And there was some confusion as to whether he'd said that he was going to watch them in his pyjamas or in Wolves' pyjamas.
Oh, I doubt he'd be watching in Wolves' pyjamas.
Yeah.
Do Wolves even have pyjamas?
For very special occasions. But what pyjamas do you think he would wear?
Oh, he's definitely wearing some kind of silk pyjamas. Smooth guy. So, yeah. Smooth guy, Mikel Arteta, probably looks a little bit like a smoking jacket.
Yeah. Like Ian Wright. You know that story of Ian Wright and Dennis Bergkamp?
Yeah.
When Dennis Bergkamp, they were rooming together and Dennis Bergkamp had these immaculate pyjamas. And I think Ian, I don't know, but I think he was just kind of a T-shirt and boxers guy or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So he went out and, because Dennis had these beautiful pyjamas, bought himself a similar pair to emulate his idol.
Inspired in the bedroom by Dennis Bergkamp, Mr. Ian
As we all have been, no doubt.
Yeah.
What's this about Stan Collymore offering Andrew Allen a Dennis Bergkamp shirt? Have you seen this?
No. Where do I need to look? I need to look at Andrew's Twitter, do I?
No, I'm afraid you have to go on Stan Collymoore's Twitter.
Well, I'm blocked.
Is that...
I'll go.
Is that still accessible to you?
No. He.
What did you do?
Journalist.
Around that time.
Around that time. It was something around that time.
I'm sure. Did I dream this? Maybe I dreamt this, Andrew.
I'm looking at
Stan. I have to cut this out. I'm sure I saw him say that he'd been in his cupboard and dug out a Dennis Bergkamp shirt from when he played against him in the 90s.
Right.
And I'm sure I saw a tweet with him saying to Andrew Allen he'll give it to him if we won the league. But it's disappeared now, that tweet. So maybe I completely made that up.
Right. I mean, that's. I know that they've had a bit of history, Andrew and Stan Collymore.
Right.
There's a bit of sort of trolling or something going on there between. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is.
Some sort of online flirtation.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
What would it be? It included Andrew's handle, and I remember thinking, oh yeah, like there's been a few tweets between them back and forth over the last few months. What is their relationship?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe take this out. It definitely. I don't think I dreamt it. I think it was real, but it's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone. Anyway, if we win the league and Stan Collymore doesn't give Andrew a Dennis Bergkamp shirt, I'm gonna block him back. That'll teach him.
That'll sting.
That'll really teach him.
Oh man.
Couple of quick ones, right? YN47 on the Discord. As it was the last game in the toxic waste kit, do you agree with it being iconic?
Yeah, I do. I think, and I'm not just saying that because I've got one. I think it'll be a really popular kit in when it's a vintage shirt. I think if we win the league, it'll be pretty popular right now.
I mean, they were selling them off at 50% off not that long ago on the official Arsenal website, which is, when I decided to buy mine as well.
To take the plunge.
Yeah. So there must be loads left. But if we win the league on Sunday, they'll be gone. Every shirt associated with this season will be gone, won't it?
I should think so. Also, I'm not sure about next season kits based on the bits and the leaks that have come out. think we may be looking back fondly on this season's after all. But let's wait and see.
Final one from the Baron. He says, I have explicitly told my boss that should we win the title on Sunday, I will be useless on Monday. How can I professionally communicate this to the wider team?
Just by not turning up, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get the hint, won't they?
In fact, Andrew, I should take this opportunity. I guess you're sort of my boss here. So I should take this chance to let you know that if Arsenal win the league on Sunday, I will be absolutely useless to you on Monday.
Suspect there might be a pair of us in it if Arsenal win the league on
I mean, I'll still
Sunday.
do a podcast if required, but if Arsenal have won the league the day before, I wouldn't expect it to be hugely coherent.
I don't think the listeners would expect it to be hugely coherent.
I don't think
either.
they'd want it to be, Andrew.
No, I don't think so. I don't
think
so.
they'd want it to be.
No, we'll work that out. And as for how you professionally communicate your potential uselessness to a team, I mean, you can't go wrong with an email that just starts, "Dear Cuntos."
Yeah,
that would be my advice.
It's always worked for me.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, look. We're heading into the final day of the season. We've got some eyes on the games that are happening this week, but from our perspective, there's a lot to look forward to, a lot to be excited about, not least the fact that we've got our live event in Ali Pali on Saturday night, so we're really looking forward to seeing loads of you there for a pre-title podcast party type thing. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear, but either way, it's going to be a fun night thinking about this season and what we've done. James, thank you as always. Good luck with everything that goes on this week with the doctors. To you guys here, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye.